One guitar junkie here. Now we're going to add the rest of the notes to the pentatonic to make it a diatonic scale. Dia meaning two types of notes. We have whole steps and half steps. Pentatonic means there's 5 notes, only 5 named notes in the scale. Diatonic, you'd think they would call it a septatonic because there's 7 notes, but they call it a diatonic, meaning 2 types of notes, whole steps and half steps. In the pentatonic, we have no half steps. We're going to stick with the key of C, which is also the key of A minor, and we're going to stick with the G form because that's the one that most people use first. I'm going to circle all the notes in the C major pentatonic scale using the G form, which puts us starting at the 5th fret with our first finger. And these are all the notes. Now this should look familiar to you by now. If it doesn't, go back and look at the pentatonic scales. Or you can start anywhere on my web page and figure out where you're at and back up if you have to. So C, D, E, G, A. Then it repeats C, D, E, G, A. Now, as we said before, wherever you find this 3-fret stretch, that's going to be your root. There's your perfect 5th. There's your relative minor. When we add the rest of the notes to make it a diatonic scale, it works out a little bit different. If we were in C major, it would go C, D, E, F, G, A, B. We need to move. When we add the diatonic notes, you're actually going to shift here. Now you could reach up with your 4th finger and get this note, and some people play that. That's an alternate fingering. You could go 1. Actually, we're going to need this B too once we go diatonic. This could be 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th, 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th, 1st finger, 3rd finger, stretch with your 4th, or 1st finger, 3rd finger, shift down 1st finger, 2nd finger, either 4th or 3rd, depending on whether you're going across. I shift down. I like that hammer on. I like to get that half-step hammer on, and if you stretch here with your 4th finger, you can't get the hammer on from this note to there. Now here's E, F, there, G, A, B, C. Now, once we've added the other notes in, it's harder for you to see where your minor 3rd stretches are, your 4th finger stretch. That's still your root. Another easier way to find your root once we've added the other notes is you have this little box right here where the natural half steps occur. And no matter what key we're in, those natural half steps will give away where your root is. When you've got the 4 notes in right next to each other, and when you cross the B string, they'll be offset a little bit. When you go from the G string to the B string, they'll be offset. But you'll see that no matter where we go on the neck, the natural half steps form a box. Okay, and no matter what key we're in, suppose we said, you know what, we're not going to play in the key of C. This next song's in the key of D. Well, I'm going to take wherever that box is, I'm going to move it until a D is in this corner of the box, and we can use that exact same shape. Now, we're in the key of D. There's our root, and that would be, this would be our 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th. 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th, 1st finger, 3rd finger. You either stretch with your 4th or you can move down 1. There'd be 1st finger, 2nd finger, 4th, or 3rd, depending on your shifting up. But there's your G form there. Now I added those other notes in to show you that that box will always give you away. It will always tell you where your root is. And it happens even down in the open strings. There's your B, C, E, F. Wherever that box is, whatever key you're in, when you find the half steps, the naturally occurring half steps, whether you're in a major or minor key, you'll have these naturally occurring half steps. That'll be the root of the major. Okay, and once you found that box, your relative minor is right below. Okay, wherever this box is, that corner is your root. There's that box, there's your root. The box goes at a diagonal here, okay, but there's your root. So if we went to the key of E, we would slide this up until that box has an E in this corner. Now we'd be in the key of E major. Okay, now wherever that box is, if you want the relative minor, you go to the minor 3rd below the root. So right now, if we wanted the key of B minor, we'd go to right there. Our 1st finger's on the B. There's what would be the root of our relative major. There's our minor, right there. Okay, I've got an awful lot of circles on there right now, so we're going to clean that up a little. And just look at the G form again. So I'm going to take all those other notes off. All I circled was all those boxes to show you that that'll always give away where your root is. So there's our G form used as a, now this is our G-form diatonic scale. You can use it as a major by treating this as the root. And if you're on the scale form page, you'll see there's a number 1 in this circle, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and then it would go on up the octave. But if you start on the 6, if you look at the scale, the 6 right now would be on an A. And that would be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, if we number that as the 1 and call this a minor scale, then we're still using the G form, but we'd have an A minor scale. There's our root, our major second, that's a minor third. Whenever the distance from one note to the next is a half step, you're going to have a minor third from the note before it to that note. So A to C is a minor third. That's why that's going to sound like an A minor scale. 1, 2, minor 3, 4, 5, minor 6, minor 7, root. The distance from that, the 7th note of the scale to the root is a whole step in your minor scales. If we treated this as a major scale, like right now, that would be an A minor scale. All right? Let's look at the C major scale. Root from C to D is a whole step. So even though we're going to that D, we're going up a whole step. You can see it's a whole step there. So we're going whole step, half step. Okay, that's the pattern for the beginning of a major scale. From F to G is another whole step, but we're going to this G. So from there we're going whole step, another whole step, and then that half step. So the pattern for a major scale is whole step from C to D, whole step from D to E, and a half step. Then whole step from F to G, whole step from G to A, whole step from A to B. That's 3 whole steps and another half step. No matter where we slide this, that pattern will give us a major scale. Alright, so right here we would have an E major scale. E to an F sharp is a whole step, half step, whole step, half step. From E to that F sharp, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Since the whole step, half step pattern is the same for all major scales, no matter where we slide this shape, we're going to have a major scale if we start on this note, and a minor scale if we start on that note. So with that one shape, you can play all the major and minor scales. And with this one shape, you can play all the modes. If I start on this note, I've got Dorian mode. Okay, that's whole step, half step. There's our minor third. Then whole step, whole step. If we were in a regular minor scale, that would have been a half step. And this would have been a whole step. So if we play Dorian mode, put this note on the root, and you've got your Dorian mode. All it did was change the major, the 6th degree of the scale becomes a major note instead of a minor note. If we were to play D minor, we would move this note till it's on a D, and we would have D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D. That would be our D natural minor. We would have a B flat. If we want D Dorian, we move until the 2nd note of the scale is on a D, and we have D, E, F, G, A, B natural, C. You can get all your modes out of these same scale forms if you look at the modes page and go to my lessons page, click on modes, and I show them in the G form, but you can do the same trick with all the other forms. Start on the 2nd degree to get your Dorian, start on the 5th degree to get your Mixolydian, and it's all explained on that page. So once you know these 5 shapes, this is the one for the G form, but if you look at the page, you'll see that there's a C form, A form, a G form, E form, and D form. It spells caged. You don't have to learn more than 5 scale forms, and you can play all the modes and all the scales that you want. And if you're trying to figure out what else can I do because that pentatonic scale is boring, realize that your pentatonic scale is a subset of all the other modes. All you have to do is add a couple of notes to your pentatonic scale. You don't have to go to a whole other position. You don't have to learn a whole other fingering. You just have to learn which notes to add to your pentatonic to get the major or the Dorian or the Mixolydian. I'll do some video demonstrations of this too, and I'll get them uploaded as soon as I can.